And joining me now on the Farm Report is, of course, our main man, Harry Siemens. We're just going to run the graphic here. One moment. Gonna get that for you guys. One sec. Wait. Oh, just gotta. Joining me now on Rise and Shine Manitoba is Harry Siemens on the Farm Report. We're just going to run the graphic here. The Farm Report, of course, presented by Wolf Enterprises. Harry Siemens joins me on this Monday morning. Harry, how are you doing on this fine Monday morning here in, wherever you're at right now in Manitoba?
I'm in Winkler, Manitoba, and I'm doing really good. And if I was any better, I couldn't stand it.
Yeah, and you had a chance to do something pretty neat on Friday, flying up in the sky. Just tell us about that experience.
I have a very good friend, Don Schellenberg. We grew up together in a church. We actually went to Bible school together. And 45 years ago, he bought a small Cessna, two-seater, and he's been flying ever since. And so yesterday or Friday morning, uh, I've been up with him 4 or 5 times, but he's a retired farmer and he flies right off of his yard. He's got a little landing strip and he picks me up in Winkler. It's 2 minutes from my house. I just drive in and he taxis up with his airplane. And so the key thing is that for 45 years he's been flying. Secondly, he's been using it as his crop scouter. He knows what to look for when you're flying and looking at crops. And so, we had a great time for 90 minutes. We flew from Winkler to Altona, and then we went north to Low Farm, back up to Morden. And just an observation as far as the crops are concerned, when you fly at a whatever feet we were flying at, where you can, with your naked eye, see the crops from the top, that's when you can really tell, what isn't and what is. And so of course, he recognizes the crops and for what they are. So he would give me a play-by-play description. We have headphones just like we have here, and so at this point, yeah, we've had some pretty ugly stuff where when you look from the top, it looks really thin. You can see the ground, and then we flew a little bit further east, and then we saw some pretty good crops. But one particular crop is on my brother's farm, and he had started harvesting canola. And Don says, "Boy, that crop looks pretty good, that canola crop." So I phoned my brother and asked him, "What's it yielding?" Well, he says about 25 bushels an acre. That's not quite half of normal. So even though it looked pretty good from the sky, it was still only about half. And so in this case, and in all the crops, the prices are right. So if the farmer gets half, and because the prices have almost doubled from last summer, they still are going to do okay. But it's not the way they like to farm, obviously. But at the same time, the crops are coming off. As far as the harvest is concerned, I'm hearing some where they're surprised it's doing better. And then I hear those that are disappointed because it's not doing as good as they had even anticipated. So I met, his name is Zach Gross. He's from the Homewood Hutterite Colony, just going into Winnipeg last week. And he recognized me, and Zach says, I asked him, he said they were combining harvest, barley. And so they were doing the same thing. It was going about half of what they had anticipated. And so we've got the livestock cattle producers continue to be in a real drought situation, looking for feed all over the place. Government supports in transportation and making sure the insurance programs work. But now we've got a federal election coming up in the middle of this, and we have Brian Pallister, the Manitoba Premier, who's resigned. So they have a leadership race going on. So all of that kind of will play into how the programs for farmers will work. And once again, when you see headlines that they're getting hundreds of millions of dollars, right now that's not necessarily the case. Some of that's going to take a long time to come, and we'll see how many cattle producers actually stay in business because of this year's drought. Yes, we've had some good rain, and we're looking for rain this coming week. But at the same time, as one cattle producer told me on Friday, he said, or Thursday, he said, Harry, Yeah, it'll help. It'll help extend the grazing period a little bit. But he says some of the pastures are so dry that he thinks that the grass has actually been killed, especially when you've had cattle on them. So whether they will uh, let out one more time, who knows? So it's a difficult situation. But the grain guys and the special crop guys, you know what? At least they have a crop, and they'll be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, for sure. It's great that they're at least able to have a crop for some sort of stuff, right? But just speaking about the harvest, just give us an update about what you've been seeing. You've spoken about it a bit in the show already, but speak about just the updates that you've seen from the harvest here in Manitoba.
It varies. It varies as much as people's ages from here to there. Wherever the rain fell, or they got different kind of cloud cover, whatever it may be, it varies so much. But if we go to the northwest part of Manitoba, we get into the rivers area, into Dauphin, into Minnedosa. Farmers are telling me that they're getting really good crops. In fact, they want to. They're a little careful how good they tell other people how they are, because we've got many areas that the crop is not good. We go into the Interlake, we go up to Arborg in that part, uh, really poor. But here's what they tell me: the crops are could have been a lot worse. We if speaking about agronomic practices and the varieties of crops that the plant breeders have continued to build, into like drought tolerance and those kinds of things. Farmers are amazed that even with only 1 inch of rain throughout the growing season, that they've actually still produced a crop. So that part of it is good. But when I fly over where I live here in the Winkler area, it looked pretty dismal at places. The Red River, you know what? It's really low. Farmer from St. Jean, I may have shared this last week, but another uh, person told me yesterday that at Emerson, it's just really not very wide. You can basically walk across if you pick your path. That's the Red River, and we here in the Pembina Triangle, we in part depend on that water. I flew over the Lake Minnewaska, which is the lake at Morden, which is a man-made lake years and years ago because they put in a dam. Well, that lake is so low that they keep talking, you know, 25, 30 weeks of real water left in that lake for the city of Morden and some of the surrounding areas. So, we really are coveting the rains that will come this week, and hopefully there'll be enough to replenish some of that. But I was at I flew from the top, and where the beach used to be and where the boat launch used to be, it's many, maybe a couple of 100 feet in, where there's just no water and there's no boat landing. And they're still using the beach for swimming. They're keeping that in shape, but the people have to keep walking in further and further. So it's really an interesting situation. But as I say, if we get some of that rain they're forecasting for the next week or so, things will improve. But it's going to take a lot of rain to really replenish the subsoil moisture. I had a chance to visit with Jennifer Sabarin. She and her husband run Anterra Agronomy at St. Jean, Manitoba. And she posted a picture several weeks ago at the end of July with a yardstick, a meter stick or a yardstick, and put it into the crack in one of the fields. And it went down 32 inches. That's 32 inches down into the ground, and boy, that means that there's no subsoil moisture. And so you get 1 inch of rain from the top, and it helps the current situation, but it doesn't replenish. You get the wind like we have, and we get the hot temperatures. It just evaporates quickly. But we're thankful for every drop of rain we get. But that's kind of and the other thing is, she was driving out to another field as we spoke, and she was checking out a farmer's field that had grasshopper infestation. I mean, grasshoppers, you may have a thin crop. So grasshoppers come in
Yeah.
and they can devour that crop like within a day, and it's gone. And because we've had 3 to 4 years of relatively dry weather in Manitoba, the grasshopper population continues to build. And this year, she said she had received a lot of mentions about crickets. We have crickets also around. Well, she says crickets, they actually devour grasshopper eggs. The grasshopper overwinters eggs in the soil. The crickets come and they burrow into the soil and they actually eat the grasshopper eggs. So if you see lots of crickets, you know you've got lots of grasshoppers. So don't step on that cricket just yet, because we need to have them devour a few more eggs before you take that cricket's life. But yeah, those are the interesting things that continue to come up, and every time I interview somebody, I learn something, and it's always good. So Jennifer and her husband Brunel, they keep a real good handle on what is happening, and she said the same thing. In areas where there was rainfall, the crops looked better. As soon as you drove over a few miles, even a mile across the field, the rain didn't fall as much. It's looking a lot poorer. So the harvest, yes, we're in full swing. I came from Winnipeg on Saturday, and combines are going, and it's not taking very long because there isn't as much crop out there to take off. So we're in full swing as far as harvest is concerned. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah, and hopefully we do get some more rain. I know we got a lot of rain last week for at least here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, for what we've gotten this year, comparing it to that. But yeah, hopefully things work themselves out in that regard. But we'll have to wait and see. Just speaking about the machines that are being used right now, you were retweeting some stuff on Twitter. I saw it on your Twitter account. Either way, and it was these machines spraying something. Can you, on like the crops and stuff, can you dive into what those machines are and what exactly they do?
Well, right now the only spraying that's really happening is where they what they call they top kill the crop. Once the crop is mature, then they spray a desiccant and to kill off the remaining growth, and that dries up the grain faster, and they can combine it quicker because anytime the crop is ready and anytime you can take it off in a good time, that means that means that it's in your favor. So that's what they use those sprayers for at this time of year. And the other thing is, if we have crop in swath, farmers swath some of the field, some of the straight combine. But if we get 3 4 days of rain, and then if the crop is on the ground, then it deteriorates the grade. Like farmers get paid on the basis of weight, protein content in wheat, and grade. Like what is the color? What is it looking like? Because and so a rain can very quickly downgrade a crop, and you may lose a buck or two a bushel when you take it to the destination where you're selling it. So that's why they take those sprayers, and they kind of top dress or top kill the crop, kill it off so that it's ready to harvest sooner than it would be just naturally.
Yeah, that's very interesting that there's stuff out there that is able to do that, which is yeah, for sure great. Just speaking about one more thing, Harry, before I let you go. Harry Siemens farming tip of the week on Siemens says. What is it?
It's again a combination of maybe tips in the previous programs, but number one, uh, the mental health of the cattle guys, and just to keep focused, to keep talking to each other, stay with it, because this we'll get through this too. Not everybody's going to continue farming, but my tip is stay with it. And the other part of that tip is be careful. These combines, these swathers, these tractors, these grain carts, the big trucks that you're seeing on the roads, they're trying to be careful just like you. But if you see a truck, you see a combine, a slow moving machine vehicle, slow down, take 15, 20 seconds, pull off the road, let the person pass so that we don't get into any kind of finger pointing or accidents or even death.
Well, wise words as always from a man who knows so much about agriculture here in Manitoba and just in general. Harry Siemens on the Farm Report for this August 16th episode. Harry, thanks as always for taking the time out of your Monday morning for joining the show.
Very good. Thank you, and keep safe.
Yeah, for sure. You too, Harry. Take care.